Hello, thanks so much for joining me on Trading Day. And it is a pretty calm trading day. We're not seeing major moves on either side, even as we do have some news on the chip makers. Some are under pressure after a report that China would limit the use of its chips and servers in government computers. Intel is seeing some of that pressure. Advanced Micro Devices now flat on the day. Let's bring in Mark Sebastian, founder of Option Pit and CIO of Karman Capital. How are you thinking about this? Is this really just an excuse to kind of temper some recent enthusiasm we've seen in the chip sector?
Well, I mean, Intel really hasn't seen a lot of enthusiasm at all. I mean, it's off of the real lows, but when you look at the chip sector as a whole, it's one of the names that really has not participated with the rally. AMD has, NVIDIA has. We've seen a lot of strength in even Micron and over the last couple of days, and Marvell. So Intel's an interesting one because they're, building a foundry. They're getting all these government grants, and the stock isn't doing anything. There's a lot of execution risk with that one in terms of, because the value there is the China thing's just kind of a side story. The value there is whether they're going to be able to execute this foundry in the next 12 to 18 months, whether they can get a real move on GPUs and in the next advanced chips that they're working on, and whether they can sell those. Now, they allegedly have some partnerships with Microsoft that are announced, but whether they can fulfill those is kind of the big question. But if Intel can execute, that stock has more upside than probably any other chip name in the sector. So I'm looking at today as an opportunity to potentially put some more Intel on.
Well, that's interesting because to your point, it's already up about 70% from the lows, but hasn't reclaimed all-time highs like some other chip stocks there. It sounds like what you're saying, the kind of risk reward is a little bit better there with Intel than what you might get elsewhere.
Yeah, I think, the relatively low risk, your downside is maybe in the low 30s. The upside, if they can really execute this, this is a stock that could trade into the 50s or 60s because, again, there's really good margins in the areas that they're trying to enter. And if this company can start executing, which is something they've not been very good at, then there is some real upside in Intel. It's probably the most interesting chip maker from a, not a near-term trade, but from a intermediate 12 to 18 months. That's a really interesting buy to me.
Do you have to believe that they can do something around generative AI? When you talk about execution risk, you talk about how far behind they are. I mean, listening to NVIDIA's CEO talk about just the billions of dollars, the time that went into getting to them where they are. I mean, they're an overnight success that took more than 10 years. You know what I mean? Whereas, how can they catch up, considering the starting point for NVIDIA was more than a decade ago?
Right. I agreed. I mean, that NVIDIA has been at it, but Intel's been making chips for a very long time. They're very good at it. They're very good at what they specifically do. They just got, I think, a little lazy and behind the curve. But if they can turn it around with how much margin, with the size of the margins in that space, there's room to grow, there's room to enter there, and room for competition. So if the chip works and if the chip can perform, there will be buyers because not everyone wants to pay the outlandish price. I think what is Elon Musk said, GPUs are significantly harder to get than illicit drugs, and he wasn't lying. These firms entering the space, I think, there's gonna be demand for their chips if they can build ones that work and are efficient.
This idea of looking for tech stocks that have been left out or unloved in what has been a pretty blistering rally is interesting. And I'm wondering if we can apply it to an Apple or even a Google, as they get dinged, today because of regulatory issues in the EU. In the case of Apple, concerns about that, plus China, plus a general slowdown for handset sales. How are you viewing a stock like Apple right now?
Yeah, Apple's kind of interesting. I mean, I think what the U.S. regulatory issue is going to end up with one of the quickest, an incredibly quick resolution with a little hand slap. The EU is a little more hard-nosed, I think, so they're going to have some issues deal. But this smells an awful lot like Microsoft, 15 years ago, and Microsoft ended up in a rut for 10 years. I think Tim Cook has been a good curator of the cash and developing, returning wealth to shareholders. But in terms of innovation and pushing new ideas and keeping that ahead of the curve, he is he's starting to look a little bit more like Steve Ballmer than I'd like. And that I think that there's going to be some in the next 12 to 24 months that people should start questioning whether there needs to be a leadership change there, because they're not innovating. They're making a ton of money, but they're not innovating, which was Microsoft 15 years ago when they just sat back and milked Windows and Office. I'd like to see Apple get back into innovating and building, and the headset is not going to do it for them. I know there are some the people that really like that headset. It ain't going to do it. They need to get back into doing chips and computers and working to build new things, not just milking their existing products.
I feel like that's an explosive take. That there's a discontent with Tim Cook that I don't feel is very broad-based, especially when you consider, especially in China, right? You have to give him kudos for managing that relationship in China in a time where others were penalized so significantly.
Yeah, listen. I don't think that he's done a bad job. He hasn't. But I think that they've really fallen behind. Microsoft is now worth $500 billion more than Apple. NVIDIA is catching up. The stock is now stuck in regulatory trouble, and I think his tenure is starting to run its course, and they need somebody who's going to lead them into the future and not just manage the business. Tim Cook has done an incredible job of managing their businesses, but in terms of growth, new avenues, when was the last time Apple came up with something new and interesting? And if you say the watch, I'm going to tell you that that's not it.
Okay, I was going to say the watch. And it was a category killer. It just wasn't meaningful, right, for Apple. But it was meaningful for, Fitbit, for example.
Yes.
Let's see how that's doing. I mean, at the same time, people will say you don't need to own Apple for innovation. This is a device, to use your Microsoft analogy, I think back then you could turn off PowerPoint and that's fine. You could not see PowerPoint for a week and that's fine. This phone, if I don't have this phone for like a day, I have like a psychological response, right?
Well, that's true, but what you're saying is Apple is now AT&T 70 years ago when they rented phones to everybody, and that is what AT&T used to do. You're probably my grandmother, God rest her soul, was still renting her phone in 1996. But that business, it's a cash generating business, but it's not a growth business, which is fine if that's what you want Apple to be. That's great. It shouldn't have a PE of 27 then. It should have a PE of utility.
Is it premature to say they don't have anything to innovate ahead of this summer where they are expected to, and that's not based on them confirming it, but they are expected to do something around generative AI? I mean, if Siri got a brain, that could be really compelling.
Yeah, if they can get that up, that would be compelling. And if they're able to execute something like that, then sign me up. But I mean, they're still not even using their own search. So I think that there's a little bit more. That's going to take a little bit more work, right? They're going to have to partner with Google if they're going to do something with Siri, because Google's running all their search.